So I'm going to start off making an old-fashioned the way I was taught, which was back in London, where I'm from. And basically we start off with a brown sugar cube, or if you don't have one to hand, you can use Demerara sugar, powdered granulated sugar. And what I do is I put that on my bar spoon, holding it close to the head because you have more control. You know, if you are a little nervous, hungover, or otherwise, not that I am. If you are, you make these, if you hold the spoon closer to the head, you have more control. And I just douse that sugar in a few dashes of bitters. And I'm using the Bitter Truth aromatic bitters today. Angostura also works fine, but this is a lovely new product that we have to play with. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is take an orange peel. Okay, as we know that citrus, or the value is right here in the peel. It's where we have the essential oils, those that flame when we spritz them across a lip match. So I'm just going to actually spritz that so we get the oils into the drink and drop it in, and this is where we start sort of preparing the drink. And what I'm doing with the base of my spoon, or you can do it with a small muddler, is to start to mix those together, okay? And the old-fashioned is what we call a built drink, meaning that we build the cocktail in the very glass that we're going to serve it in. So now we're going to start with our whiskey, and we're going to use 2 ounces of the Hudson Rye Manhattan, which certainly wasn't around in 1806, but made in the style of that kind of original rye whiskey. So 2 ounces is going to be the total amount of rye that we're going to use. We're going to add that a little bit at a time, and then we're going to add a little bit of ice. This ice is quite large, so I just crushed it up ahead of time a little bit. And then we start to make the drink. So what we're doing here is we're just stirring it. So what we're doing here is dissolving the sugar, starting to get the orange peels mixed in, and with the whiskey. Just to finish off then, we'll take another zest of the orange, just to use those essential oils. And it's a simple trick to do to brighten up any cocktail. You just want to spritz it on the top. And John, can you vouch for that it happened? You got a nice little shower of spritzes on the top. So that's the old-fashioned way. It is quite a time-consuming cocktail to make. So if you're making it in front of a guest or at your bar at home, my only piece of advice is stock up with some good jokes to tell while you're making it. So cheers. Kathy, over here it is. Cheers.
So I have 1.5 ounces of Hudson bourbon, and then I'm doing 3/4 ounce of root. It has, you know, a nice kind of root beer flavor, but really, I think, very rich and very sophisticated. And then for the sugar cube or sugar portion of this cocktail, I did a vanilla bean syrup, again, kind of playing on that little bit of a twist and nod to the soda fountain. So just a touch of homemade vanilla syrup. And then I have a little bit of bitters here, and this is Fee's Brothers old-fashioned bitters. It tastes very cinnamony, so I'm just going to add a little dash of that. And then I'm going to ice this up, give it a good stir. And while I'm doing that, talk a little bit about the carbonated cherries. So these are beautiful, beautiful maraschino cherries. These are from Oregon, and they're really plump and very, very delicious. And so I've done them in an ISI canister, and I split the cherries in half, and then I soak them in a little bit of water just to up their water content. Because if any of you have ever had carbonated grapes, things that carbonate, you want to have a lot of water content to them. So then I put them in my ISI, and I charge them with 2 CO2 chargers, and then let them sit, and so they stay really kind of fun and fizzy. So I'm going to go ahead and then strain that and serve it over ice, and then garnish it with my carbonated cherry. There we go. And on to Jamie.
So what we're going to be doing today is doing 1 part each of our beautiful bourbon. It will work. Beautiful bourbon, 1 part. And we're going to do 1 part of a rum, because again, different flavor profiles. And 1 part of a cognac or brandy. And so what I've pretty much done is I've done my own blend of nondescript but very complex spirit. So now we got the spirit, so now we need the sugar. As opposed to adding sugar, I'm going Kathy's route, and I am using a liqueur. That's the beautiful thing about the old-fashioned is sugar just means pretty much anything sweet. You can argue that Manhattan is a variation of an old-fashioned. So I'm going to use Creme Yvette, just because. It's not because I work for Group of Spirits in Saint Germain. It's just because I happen to have free access to it. Okay, so we've put in 3 spirits to make really 1 spirit. We've added our sugar, and still not enough for me. We have to add the bitters. But you know, it'd be boring if I just did one bitter. So we're going to do one aromatic bitters and chocolate mole. As soon as they come, you know, let's just pretend. It doesn't matter. I'll just grab another bottle. Yeah, chocolate mole. So we have quite a complex old-fashioned happening right now. I think we'd all agree. Yes? Yes? Complex? Yes? Okay, not good enough. Must make it more complex. So what I decided to do is, let's take this and smoke it. And so we're going to smoke this, if my smoker works, with a lychee rose tea. Okay, so we have our smoke-filled container. We have our booze ready. Let's actually do some proper bartending. We're gonna stir our drink with some ice. So that's good enough for our purposes. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna strain this into our lovely skull. Just agitate it just briefly. Smoke and alcohol really get along. So it really takes very little to add a lot of flavor. So I'm just going to give it a quick little stir, and then we'll go ahead with our old-fashioned. So, information enter my skull. Excellent. That's all it takes, and you're going to get a ton of smoke flavor out of that. And then we're going to add an ice cube or two. Normally when I do this in my bar, it's one huge ice cube. I find that you want the biggest, slowest melting ice cube. The drink really develops over time. It's completely different from the first step to the last. And then just in case you weren't sure it was an old-fashioned, we're going to do orange with cherry. Don't mind my grubby hands.
With fabulous cherry.
Yeah, and of course brandy cherry is my way to go. And I really wish you could all taste this with me, but here is the machine head.